recognized symbol of excellence in sports entertainment.
As cold as a razor blade, as tight as a tourniquet, like the skin on a dying man. I don't want a piece of the world. I want the whole world. I make my own rules because it's much easier that way. Trust me.
What's up, everybody? It's Marcus D'Angelo, and we are back for another episode of The Snake Pit. And of course, you know this gentleman. That is the Hall of Famer himself, master of the DDT, Jake the Snake Roberts. Jake, we're back, brother.
Back's not the word, man. Back and safe. You know, we're not having a Vince McMahon moment. My underwear clean and we're ready to go.
Yeah, clean underwear. They're hanging up behind you there. We see them. But yeah, no, I'm glad we're not having a Vince moment. You know, I wasn't sure we were going to be back this week because I don't know when this little critter's going to show up, but she's hanging in there. So we'll see. Maybe next week we'll have Ask Jake Anything. Maybe not. So we'll just see how this thing plays out. But I do know one thing, Jake, and that's that this week we are back talking about Mid-Atlantic again. This time we are in November 1981 as we continue this story month by month. And man, it's been an interesting journey so far. You don't get to talk about this stuff a whole lot. What do you think about revisiting it? Annoying or fun?
It's a little bit annoying, but it's a little bit of fun too.
Yeah, the combination of both. I know it's kind of the best of times and the worst of times in your career, but we'll try to hit the best of times here as of right now. When we last left off on the subject of Mid-Atlantic, we ended on a teaser because you were about to work with a performer named Sweet Ebony Diamond. Jake, now's the time. Who is Sweet Ebony Diamond?
Wow. Sweet Ebony Diamond.
Does it ring a bell?
Yeah, it does. I'm trying to think of was that he has a bad eye?
No, sir.
No?
No. That was Sweet Ebony Diamond was Rocky Johnson.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. I'm coming back to you?
Yeah.
It's cool because you'd reference getting to know him and get to travel with him and his son The Rock, of course, back in these days. So now we're this has got to be the time period. So I mean, looking back on it, Jake, what did you think of Rocky's ring work overall?
It lacked.
Okay, what was he missing?
He was a cartoon guy.
Okay.
So he didn't want to get in there and grind it out. He just wanted to get in there and play.
Gotcha. So he wasn't the kind who's going to go out there and kind of build a nice, well-rounded story. No. He's out there just being flashy.
Yeah, he's out there being flashy and being corny and being funny.
That is not your thing.
No, definitely not.
So, I mean, you guys are going to go on to work against the Grappler and Super Destroyer. Obviously, Len Denton quite well. And it'll be on a few occasions here as you come into November. As you said, you guys are very different performers. Would you say that, sometimes opposites attract? Would you say you guys developed some decent chemistry?
We made the best of it. Okay. I went and did the hard work, and I'd tag him, and he'd get there and fuck it all up.
So he'd get the hot tag and just the match goes off the rails.
Just fuck it up, man. Turn it into a goddamn cartoon.
So what's his cartoon shit? Like the dancing around silly punches? Yeah.
Dancing around and the whoop-de-doo punches and
It is funny because watching your work at this time, you're in there telling a story and it's serious and it feels gritty. It feels like a fight. So then picturing this guy coming in, you got to just be on the apron oh my God.
I just sit in the corner like, fuck.
All that fucking work you just put in.
Yeah.
Jake, I've heard mixed things about Rocky over the years, including from his son, Dwayne. So I'll ask you, what did you think of him as a guy?
It was all very superficial. He was one of the boys. But he was very superficial. You never got to know him.
Okay. So it was all just kind of surface, kind of Carney-ish type behavior.
Absolutely.
Well, look, we're not going to dwell on him too long, but he is a guy that we aren't likely to talk about very much here on the show. He and Tony Atlas teamed together a few years later, winning the WWF Tag Team Championships, and they would also become the first African-American Tag Team Champion to do so.
Yeah.
How big of a deal was it for Atlas and Johnson to become the first African-American Tag Team Champions during that era?
Oh, it was huge, man. It was, it's off the charts huge. They did it. What was it? The early '80s or the late '70s? Yeah, early '80s.
Yes, sir.
And that color barrier hadn't came down yet.
Mm-hmm.
You can say what you want. I know I witnessed it all the time. Black guys didn't get the breaks. In the early '80s. JYD was one of the first that really got a big break. And he carried it nationwide. Other than that, it didn't happen.
It is interesting because, yes, Bill Watts, he's got this reputation for being a racist, and that's part of why he was fired.
But when his money was coming in, he didn't mind counting it.
Okay, so he saw that he could make money.
That's the only reason, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's funny because, after JYD would leave his territory, he would kind of infamously just try to find the next African-American star.
tried, man. First it was Butch Reed, then it was the Snowman. Oh, my God.
That's right.
What a hoot that was.
Well, there's only one JYD. He's got charisma out the ass. Ultimately, Rocky is only going to last about 3 years in the WWF before working the rest of his career bouncing around on the indies and having to get a shoot job. Why do you think he didn't last very long in a featured role in wrestling? What was he missing?
Because he was just a cartoon.
Okay.
He wasn't serious about anything.
So being silly is one thing, but you've got to be able to like flip that switch and
he never flipped the switch.
Okay. It was all just flash and show with him.
Yeah.
Well, moving on from teaming with Rocky, you're getting into singles action with Greg the Hammer Valentine, third from the top in the Charlotte Coliseum. This was a big show in the territory, and Greg was a very well-established star during this period. Yeah. As we've mentioned, you've been kind of relegated to tag team wrestling up to this point for the most part. This has got to feel like an opportunity to kind of prove yourself as a singles worker.
Yeah,
right?
I did, man. It was real important to me to go out there and have a great match with Greg. And we did. We went out and did about 20, 25 minutes.
Wow.
And we got our shit in. And I showed them that I could carry it. Because I hated tag teams. I just hated them.
Now, was there anybody that you would tag team with? Not even necessarily here, but over the course of your career that you enjoyed? Nobody.
No. Hell no. Fuck no.
Not even like The Undertaker later on.
No, I don't know.
You just can't tell your story that way, right?
No, I couldn't. As soon as I got it established, they'd go in and fuck it up.
I mean, there's something to be said there because two guys not on the same page. Like, look, a lot of guys made tag team wrestling like a main event. Like I'm thinking of Arn and Tully. Some guys were great at it because they were always on the same page. But you're just kind of an outside the box thinker, and maybe it didn't quite work that well with somebody, right?
It didn't work for me, man. Never did.
Valentine has a reputation of being a legitimate tough guy in the business. Was that your experience around Greg? Did you get that?
Oh, yeah. He was a stiffy.
Out there, he was a little rough.
Oh, yeah. It's like he dropped that elbow on him. That was his big thing, right?
Yeah.
He didn't hit you with the elbow. He hit you with his whole fucking lat. He crushed your fucking chest, man. He knocked the air out of you. He didn't mind taking it. If he tatered you, he was willing to take one back. I know because I gave him a bunch of them.
So, like, are you working the same way? Because you and I have talked about you stepping into the ring with guys who are a little bit stiff or a little bit rough out
Yeah,
there, and you're not afraid to give it back to them.
yeah.
Generally speaking, what's your mode? Are you kind of on the snug side, or do you
Snug,
go light? Yeah,
snug.
but you'll go a little bit harder if you got a guy like Greg who's really
Oh
throwing
God,
down.
yeah, yeah, yeah. He gets 3 notches up.
Now, has it?
Other words, my hands will be sore at the end of the match.
Now, has it ever happened that somebody's come at you a little too rough and you gotta give them the old like, "Hey, slow it down," or "back off," sort of a thing?
Oh yeah, Macho Man.
Okay.
You know, he would come at you a million miles an hour, man.
Would he listen when you'd ask him to back off?
No, so I just grab a hold of him and let him go.
So you
Let
grab
him
him and blow him up?
blow him up. Then after he was blown up, I could do anything I wanted.
Now, Greg's ring style obviously pretty snug. Is there any other like descriptors that you would put in there for him? He's not like a technical guy. He's more just like a
No,
go out there and kind of push you around.
he's very slow. He's very just grind it out. Take you right to the edge and pull you back in, man. You know, it was very solid. It was very believable. And everything meant something. Everything meant something.
No wasted motion kind of a guy.
No, not at all.
So Greg is a veteran among the two of you, but I know that you like to call matches and paint the picture for the audience yourself. Under those circumstances, do you just bite your tongue and follow his lead?
No, I called it.
Did you really?
Yeah.
This whole calling matches stuff, it's come up here on the podcast a few times just because, like, to me as an outsider, I'm just like, how do you know when? Like, is he gonna get offended if you go out there and start calling spots, or how does it work?
No, he didn't mind.
Okay. So you're able to just go out there and start doing it, and he's like, yeah,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Well, it's not like you were some rookie either. You'd certainly put in
No.
some years and we're ready for it.
Yeah, it was.
A lot of people say that Greg has always got a full gas tank and would keep coming and coming, even getting stronger as the match went on. Was that your experience with him?
Absolutely. He just kept that train coming, man. Chug, 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 chug. And it didn't. You can't stop the train. It's gonna come. It's gonna come to you. You know. So you better get out of the fucking way.
Now, the other guy I hear that about all the time is Steve Austin. Would you say that those two have pretty similar styles in that regard?
Yeah, in that regard, yeah.
Okay. Aside from
Steve
that,
kept coming. Yeah.
not too much alike.
No.
You ever go partying with Greg? I know that he was no stranger to the party scene.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Anything jump out?
No, I can't remember.
Well, it sounds like it must have been a good night.
I plead the fifth.
That's probably the safer route.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, you're back in tag team competition after this, but fortunately, it's your chance to team up with Wahoo against the Andersons in the Greensboro Coliseum. Jake, Greensboro is going to be the site of Sting's last match at AEW Revolution, and it's kind of considered home base for Mid-Atlantic at this time, right?
Right.
Now, would you say that an event like that is as big as it got in the territory, or was there another building that was considered,
No,
the
it
biggest
was
show?
Greensboro was the big show.
Okay. And I mean, you're working with Oli, who's, kind of a power player in the company at the time. Is it safe to assume that it would represent a large payout?
That's a good one.
Not so much.
No. I think it was less than 500.
Wow. Wow. What do you think Oli made if you had to guess?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know because he was booking at the time too.
Right. So he's kind of double dipping.
Yeah.
Now, you said 500 there, and I know that as we just mentioned, Greensboro was one of the better territories, and you had said before that you were kind of getting stuck down, in like Charleston or something
Charleston,
like that.
Camden, South Carolina. Fuck me, man. Florence, South Carolina.
So small towns,
Yes.
shitty crowds. I mean, so if $500 in Greensboro, you able to tell us what you're making elsewhere?
Well, elsewhere, that would have been my week, you know.
Oh man. So I don't blame you for quitting a couple times here in Mid-Atlantic.
Yeah.
Jeez. Well, on the same card, Steamboat would lose the Mid-Atlantic heavyweight title to Roddy Piper, and after you're gonna team up with Ricky for a TV match against the Grappler and Super Destroyer. Let's drop in on the final moments of that one.
Bear hug. And again, Roberts is motioning for Rick Steamboat. And here comes Roddy Piper in the Roddy Piper. And here comes Ole Anderson. Wait a minute. And they're just about to annihilate Roberts in the corner while Ole and Piper are having a real...
They're trying to distract the referee.
Drag out with the referee.
Steamboat and Roberts have got their hands full. Needs to make the tag. He's got to make that tag. They can't wrestle 4 men. They can't wrestle 4 men.
It was almost like a bulldog. Where Roberts got the grappler in. Slammed at it.
Come on, make that tag. Jake, make it. Stretch it, make the tag. Okay.
Here comes Steamboat over the top rope with a judo chop and another one now to Super Destroyer.
Takes both men on. Steamboat's got him now.
Well, all 4 now are in the ring.
Double thrust. Steamboat's got Grappler down.
Piper's going to pull him out.
That's it.
And
That's
referee
it.
Sonny
That's it.
Fargo says ring the bell. They're going to be disqualified as Steamboat now is fighting with Piper, fighting with Ole Anderson.
Hey, he's got Piper in the ring.
We got 6 wrestlers now, all going at it. Piper and Steamboat. Ole Anderson is trying to get in to help Piper.
Look at Piper. Look at Piper. Piper and Steamboat.
Trying to get out. And Steamboat
almost landed on his head.
Right over that top rope trying to get to him.
All right. So, man, some pretty hot action there with you and Piper.
Yeah.
And, again, it's you guys are looking like you're, Piper has certainly been programmed with Steamboat's been programmed with Piper. It kind of makes sense that, okay, it looks like you are probably going to be squaring off with Ole, which you will here. But again, it's kind of just stuck in the tag team situation.
Yeah. See, the bad thing was only because he was the booker, he didn't work every night of the week.
Oh.
So that's the reason I was getting thrown into tag teams and bullshit. And that's the reason I go to the smaller towns, because Ole was just booking and he didn't work every night.
So he was set to be your consistent rival, but he just wasn't there often enough.
Yeah, he'd work 2-3 days a week.
Okay, so that's, man, what a weird, fucked up, strange situation for you to be in.
Sucked.
Right, because you're coming into this territory and there's opportunity there, but it's kind of not there at the same time.
Absolutely.
Oh, brutal. I mean, you and Ricky, it's, obviously you guys are both, going to go on to be Hall of Famers, both really skilled. Would you say that the two of you had enough opportunities to work together to develop good tag team chemistry?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we had it good. We had a lot of fun out there.
Now, how would you compare your chemistry with him in a tag team as opposed to a couple of years later as his opponent?
Oh, much better as his opponent.
Oh?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Now, is that just because you had a little bit more control over the flow of the match that way?
That, and I was more seasoned then.
Okay.
This is the early part of me just getting it going. By the time I got to him in the WWE, I was ready. I was completely ready.
We can definitely see shades of what you're about to become. I think you really started to kind of feel it here in a couple of years whenever you went to Georgia. That's when it was like, okay.
Yeah.
Yep,
yeah, I was there. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I know that you don't like being a tag team, as we've discussed. Did Steamboat seem like he felt similarly?
Steamer, he liked tag teams, but he liked tag teaming with Jay Youngblood.
Well, they were a good pair.
Yeah, they were a good tag team.
And they had like similar look and sort of a similar
Yeah.
vibe where it was like they look like a tag team. However, Steamboat is going to grow out that mustache here coming up, so clearly your fingerprints are all over this situation. Have you guys heard the news? The New York Fed just announced that credit card debt hit 1.13 trillion. And while the nation's credit card debt is at an all-time high, yours doesn't have to be. Here's a little secret. Your home value is still likely higher than it was when you bought it. So why not put that equity you've built to work and use it to pay off those high-interest credit cards? Go to savewithconrad.com. Oh, and did we mention skipping your next 2 house payments? That's right, no house payments for 2 months. Let the team at Save with Conrad run the numbers and see what's possible for you. Give them a call at 888-425-0105 or go to www.savewithconrad.com today. NMLS number 32416, equal housing lender. Again, it's savewithconrad.com. Jake, something that we haven't discussed yet on the show is the fact that you're here wearing traditional black wrestling trunks, and you're going to keep that look as you go into Florida with Kevin Sullivan. Why did you initiate the change to the karate pants?
I just liked them better, man. I've always had skinny legs. So I was tired of it.
So you're trying to just cover up those legs?
Damn straight.
I mean, it doesn't get hot as a motherfucker out there while you're wrestling wearing pants, though?
No.
Not too bad?
No, not at all.
You'd work against the Grappler and Super Destroyer again this month with the Boogie Woogie Man, Jimmy Valiant, as your partner. So yet another tag team partner. You traveled with Boogie and Steamboat during this period, right?
Yeah.
How was that?
Fuck, all Boogie did was sleep. That guy slept all the time, man.
Was he high?
No.
So I was going to ask you if you had any good travel stories with Jimmy, but it sounds like his ass was just passed out the whole time.
He was asleep, man. He was asleep.
Isn't that like breaking a cardinal rule in wrestling? You're supposed to stay awake for the
other
guy?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
He'd get in the back seat, brother, and that was it.
Oh, so he's not even up front with you. He'd get in the back and lay down?
No, he'd get in the back and just boom.
That's fucked up, man. On a road trip. Come on. Are you still in contact with Jimmy? You ever talk to him anymore?
I haven't talked to him in a long time, man. I'd like to talk to him.
You'd make a fun guest. I'll have to see if I can get in touch with him. All right, well, let's get to the big Thanksgiving Day tournament. You're back in the Greensboro Coliseum. And Jake, do you remember what was on the line for this tournament?
No, a Cadillac.
That's right. It's a Cadillac is on the line. I suspect I already know the answer, but does the winner actually get to keep a caddy?
Fuck no. Yeah, if he buys it. Usually the guy that can buy the Cadillac was the guy that won.
Okay, so when you won the tournament, you actually got a pretty decent purse?
Well, you got the same old shit, but you got the Cadillac too, but the Cadillac came out of your pocket.
Oh, that's fucked up.
Fuck yeah, man. Are you kidding me?
Now, I believe that you don't win this tournament, but I believe you're going to win one or maybe even 2 of these Cadillac tournaments during your time in Mid-Atlantic. Is that right?
Yeah, I won a couple of them.
All right. But the caddies, you didn't end up taking them home.
No, I couldn't even afford to wash one.
Not on the shit they were paying when you were out there in Charleston or whatever. Well, Jake, it feels like you're neither fish nor fowl at this point because you keep bouncing between tag teams and singles like in this tournament.
Yeah.
I know you well enough by now to know that you aren't afraid to let people know what you're thinking. Are you approaching the Crocketts or Ole with your desire to just go full-time singles?
Oh, yeah.
And what's the response like from them?
Didn't matter. Sometimes you just got to do what you got to do, boy.
Oh, my God.
Sometimes it don't fit.
That's probably not an answer you love, especially while you're in the middle of like not getting great money.
No, you don't, man.
So you had said that you quit twice.
Yeah.
Is it like a little bit further down the line from this, or?
Yeah, it's right about this time.
Okay, you would have quit, and then they brought you back.
Yeah.
Okay, with promise of giving you more, right?
Right.
Well, in the first round of this tournament, you're going to beat Mike Davis, who most fans will know later in his career when he goes on to become one of the rock and roll RPMs with Tommy Lane. Jake, did you get much time around Davis?
Too much time.
Too much.
Yeah.
What was he like?
He wasn't too much, man.
No?
No, Mike was a nice guy. That's all I'll say.
Party guy?
I don't recall.
Oh, okay. Well, so he might have been then. In the next round of the tournament, you lost your match with Ivan Koloff. As many listeners of the show know, Ivan was the wrestler that ended Bruno Sammartino's legendary run with the WWF title in '71. So a real legend in the business by this point.
Yeah.
What was Ivan like in the ring?
A fucking machine.
Yeah?
Oh, God, yeah. He'd blow you up so fast, man. Oh, my God, it was horrible.
No shit.
I remember thinking I was going to die. He just kept coming. I could not get him off of me. And I was bumping the shit out of him, man, but he was right back on me.
So he's just down and up, lightning fast.
Oh, yeah. It was
Wow.
crazy. It was crazy how fast he was.
So, like, looking back on it now, you're still a young guy at this time, but looking back on it now, was there any way with a guy like that to slow him down?
No.
So leaning on him wouldn't work. Nothing you could do would work. Oh, man. I think it's also worth noting here that you were a smoker at this time. So, I mean, you might be the younger of the two, but you've got a habit that impacts your lungs.
Yeah.
How would you balance your cardio with your smoking habit during your time wrestling?
There was no balance. I'd balance it in my lips. That was it.
Now,
balance. You fucking kidding me?
Here's the thing, though, is you don't look like you're getting blown up very often, and you could say the same all the way through your time during your first run in the WWF. I wasn't seeing you get blown up.
No.
So, how in the fuck does that work?
I just timed it right, man.
Okay.
I sold a lot.
Gotcha. That would give you an opportunity to kind of catch your wind.
Catch my wind.
Okay. Well, look, I think it's also worth noting here that Blackjack Mulligan is going to win this tournament, and on the way, he's going to face and defeat Sergeant Slaughter. Jake, the two of us had a phone call earlier today, and you told me that you might just have a little story about these two.
Oh, my God. It was in Hampton, Virginia. And back in those days, they didn't have barricades around the rings. They just had, like in movie theaters, they'd have a post with a rope in between. Well, they went outside the ring, and Slaughter grabbed him by the back of the head and took his head and went down on the post, right?
Yeah.
Well, he missed his head and hit him right in the fucking mouth.
Oh.
And the post went in his mouth. But his teeth went further back.
They pushed back.
It folded his teeth completely over.
Ugh.
His lip was hanging out of his mouth, but his teeth was inside his lip. And when he stood up, man, blood was going everywhere. And he just roared. Well, Slaughter had rolled back in the ring. And he roared, and he just looked at fucking Slaughter, just stared a hole in him. And he come in the ring just and reared back and football kicked Slaughter in the nuts. Slaughter didn't go down.
No.
He fucking drew back and punched Mulligan. Slaughter's a tough son of a bitch.
That's a hell of a man.
Tough, double tough son of a bitch.
I mean, especially Mulligan, who's got this reputation for just being tough as nails.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, when you see these two back in the locker room after this, that's just
no, brother. We all ran. We ran.
You got the hell out.
We got the fuck out of there.
Holy shit, man. I mean, how long was Blackjack down? He had to go get dental surgery, I imagine.
Oh, he 2 or 3 days.
That's it.
They just sewed it all up.
No, and he doesn't give a shit. He'll just go back out there with all the stitches and stuff in.
Yeah.
Damn, dude. That is
It was
insane.
horrifying, man. It was horrifying.
Wow. So would you say that that's the worst injury that you've witnessed?
No. I seen a guy named John Black broke his neck in the ring.
Oh, did he die?
And he paralyzed him from his neck down.
Good Lord. Do you
Yeah.
remember how it happened?
Yeah, a pile driver.
Now, I've heard you say before that you don't like taking pile drivers. Is that why?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
funny because, I've seen a lot of footage of your matches over the years, and I stumbled across a photo of DiBiase giving you a pile driver, and I
Yeah.
was like, I've never seen that before.
I didn't like it, but I trusted him.
So if it's a guy like DiBiase who's great in the ring, you're like,
Yeah.
okay, this guy can do it.
But still, I don't like for it to happen.
No, especially you with a bad neck, it's
Yeah.
recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
So Mulligan ruled this territory from the 70s into the early 80s. When you made the jump to Mid-Atlantic, was it the first time that you crossed paths with the big guy?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'd seen him wrestle my father.
Oh, had you?
Yeah.
He must have been pretty young at that time wrestling your dad.
Yeah.
Now, overall, Blackjack, what did you think of him? Ring work and,
I loved him. I loved him, man. Great guy.
It's
Great
funny
guy.
because it kind of shows on camera when the two of you are together. You guys have got good chemistry on screen, and it just seems like you guys are having fun, whether it's here or in the WWF a few years later.
Yeah.
Were you spending a ton of time with him outside of the ring as well?
Not so much. No.
Okay.
No. Just a mutual respect.
Now, what about Barry? Because you and he would be tag teaming. You're close
Barry
to the
and I
same
spent
age.
a lot of time together, in Florida.
Okay.
Whenever he was with Dusty, I was with Sullivan. So.
But here in Mid-Atlantic, you guys aren't really traveling together or anything?
No, I didn't travel with him. I traveled with Steamboat.
And Sleepy Valiant.
Yeah.
Well, look, Blackjack was one of those guys who'd seen and done it all by this time in his career. He'd worked in MSG against Bruno, against Andre, under Vince Sr. Would you consider him a guy that you learned a lot from at this time?
Oh, sure.
What kind of things do you learn from a vet like Blackjack?
Learn when to keep your mouth shut. All timing.
Okay.
Timing.
Not sure when we're going to have a chance to discuss this again, so might as well ask you right now. You're in the middle of your run with the WWF in 1990 when Blackjack and his son Kendall Windham are arrested by the Secret Service for counterfeiting. The authorities found close to $500,000 in phony $20 bills, and the two had spent 24 months in federal prison. Holy shit, dude. What's your reaction when you hear about this mess?
Holy fuck. Holy fuck, man. That surprised the fuck out of everybody.
Good Lord, man. $500,000.
Don't want no part of that shit.
Were you in contact with Mulligan at all, like during the period leading up to this while he was counterfeiting, apparently?
No.
Probably a good thing. You don't need to be getting a call from the feds.
Fuck no.
All right, well, back in 1981, you're going to be paired with Blackjack as your next tag team partner, and this weird tag team carousel you're on just keeps going. It makes me curious, Jake, would you say that you improve more or learn more when you're in a consistent program with the same people like you would in other territories?
Absolutely.
Is it better?
Absolutely.
Better than like kind of switching around from guy to guy?
Yeah, when you flip-flopping back and forth to everything, you never get any groundwork done. You don't have to, you don't get your sense of timing with the guy. You got to have timing, man. That's what it's all about. Know when to fart and when to move, when to not do this, not do that, and then you have expectations. You learn to expect certain things from them at certain times. But if you're constantly changing partners, there's no way that you can ever get that down and get it crisp. It'll always be a little bit off, and that little bit hurts.
It is interesting hearing you say that because, like, the more I'm thinking about it here as we're sitting here, it's like, well, some of the best tag teams spent literally all their time together, like the Steiners,
absolutely,
Arn and Tully, Hall and Nash. Like, these guys developed chemistry and got to know each other so well that their timing in the ring was just, they probably just looked at each other and knew what to do.
Absolutely.
Just it was never your thing. Never found a tag team partner that you quite jived with.
No.
Well, we're jiving here on the show next week, possibly. I don't know when this kid's showing up. We might be doing Ask Jake Anything, or we might be doing the alternate episode. Either way, we'll have some fresh content for you guys next time. And
Yeah.
Jake, it's always a blast to do these with you, brother.
Yep. Good times, bro. Good times.
Okay, guys, you know the deal by now. If you're looking to attract that 25 to 54-year-old male demographic to your product or service, why haven't you gone to advertisewithsnake.com? Jake is a legit household name. He's still over like Rover, and you can get him to put over your stuff to the exact audience that you're targeting. If you want some proof that it works, just listen to old episodes of our show. Well, you'll hear that we're always advertising for the same folks over and over again, because once they advertise with us, they realize that what we do works. Head over to advertisewithsnake.com and get teamed up with the Hall of Famer Jake Roberts. Go now and check out jakethesnakeshop.com for rare signed collectibles straight from the master of the DDT himself. We're talking about autographed figures, shirts, 8x10s, wrestling buddies, and much more. You guys have got to check out the custom sculptures of Jake made by Sin Bodhi. They're available now. They're on sale at an incredible discount, and they're all signed by Jake. Get over there right now. It's jakethesnakeshop.com. Add a new centerpiece to your wrestling collection. You've got to head over to cameo.com/Jake Snake for a personal message from the Hall of Famer. Here's a recent review from Tanner. My hero. This brought tears to my eyes. He did such a great job, and this video will be cherished for life. I mean, guys, if you just go and have a look at those reviews, you're going to see that all of them are like this. Jake puts so much effort into these, and he really delivers for his fans. If you're a lifelong fan, I'm telling you, you have got to check out Cameo. It's cameo.com/Jake Snake. Go and order yours right now. Get over to the Snake Pit page at boxofgimmicks.com. Go and check out some of the amazing merch we have available for the show. Not only is it a great way to support our podcast, but we are also very tuned in to the fashion that wrestling fans of the 80s and 90s might be attracted to. We've even remade some of Jake's most iconic shirts with a modern twist so you can reclaim that favorite shirt from your childhood. Seriously, just go and have a look. You're going to love the style we have on our page. Again, that's the Snake Pit page at boxofgimmicks.com. Check us out on YouTube. It's youtube.com/@SnakePitPod. You'll get short clips from the show, some highlights, some exclusive content. Jake and I are very quickly approaching 30,000 subscribers, and as we get closer, we're going to be doing another giveaway. Do not miss your chance to own a signed figure, a trading card, an 8x10, or who knows what awesome collectible from Jake. Also, we do YouTube exclusive episodes, clips you won't hear on the podcast, and much more over there. Do us a big favor, get subscribed, and start enjoying everything the Snake Pit Pod has to offer on YouTube. Speaking of YouTube, a lot of you know that Jim Duggan and I used to have a show on adfreeshows.com called The Hacksaw Hour. And that show still exists, but now it's just moved exclusively to YouTube. So the first 8 episodes are still available only on adfreeshows.com, but we've got a few episodes out there now on YouTube. So if you want to continue the story from the legendary hacksaw Jim Duggan, you can only do it there. I also do a podcast with Ted DiBiase called Everybody's Got a Pod, and that's where you're going to find the new episodes of the Hacksaw Hour. Ted and Jim are going to be sharing a page. So go and get subscribed and caught up to both shows. Right now, it's youtube.com/@everybody's-got-a-pod, and you're going to hear some amazing stories from both men. You're going to get exclusive clips and even enjoy videos straight from Jim himself as he documents his travels, his home, his collection of wrestling memorabilia, and much more. Again, it's youtube.com/@everybody's-got-a-pod. Also, if you've enjoyed the Snake Pit, please like, subscribe, leave us a 5-star review on all platforms. Only takes you a second, and it does Jake and I a really big favor. Helps us out, helps to get us in front of some new sponsors so that we can continue to offer you guys this podcast for free. Just a reminder, you can get the Snake Pit and all the other shows on our network early and ad-free over at adfreeshows.com, and it starts at just $9. The Sandman just started an exclusive AFS show called Enter Sandman. David Crockett is over there with Conrad going over old JCP booking logs month by month in a series called The Book, which is a must-hear for the fans of old school wrestling and the Four Horsemen. Paul Bromwell is there with Kevin Sullivan every Tuesday on Tuesdays with the Taskmaster. Lex Luger drops in for a monthly series called Lex Expressed, and there's so much more, so many hours of podcast entertainment. If you're a wrestling fan and you love wrestling podcasts, you are seriously missing out on so much by not being a member. Get over there, sign up, and I can guarantee that you're going to love being part of the community. Again, it's adfreeshows.com. Catch Jake on X at JakeSnakeDDT, on Instagram at JakeTheSnakeDDT, and on Facebook at Real Jake the Snake. You can follow me at Marcus P. D'Angelo on X, and you can follow the podcast at Snake Pit Pod on all social media platforms. Another fun look back at Mid-Atlantic. It's really interesting to look back at a period of time when Jake was working for the Crocketts. I'm really excited to continue the story as we move forward here, and I'm excited to see you guys next week right here on The Snake Pit.